And welcome back. Well, I'm going to do a little bit of an update on our install here of our Linkswell IQ radio into this 2012. And as you can see, I do have the radio pulled out, just kind of looking at a couple of things. And that is the nice, convenient thing about this radio, is that you don't have to remove this trim to get it back in and out. I'm coming back and I'm revisiting this little connection here. Now, I've been troubleshooting the CanBus connectivity, which right now we don't have steering wheel controls for audio, so it's not critical, but it is something we may add in the future. And I wanted the CanBus to work. And initially, I couldn't find this CanBus box they sent us, which, after doing a bit of research, it depends on who makes this. This one is actually put out by, let me get you in there where you can see that, and then get you some shop light. Let's see if I can get that to stay forward. There we go. So this one is put out by Simple Soft. And from what I can find online, what you're supposed to do is go into the car settings, tell it the module that you have, which in this case is Simple Soft, and then you select your make, model of car after that. Now I'll show you all this here in a bit. Well, I wasn't finding anything that was actually marked by the manufacturer Simple or even Simple Soft within this head unit. Now, inside the head unit, there's an option that it had called basically its store, like the a software icon that dealt with the head unit in and of itself, and I'll show you that. Now, once I got in there and attached it to Wi-Fi and did some CanBus updates and some other updates, then I saw the option for what they called, a manufacturer called XP, that had the word Simple next to it. And I'm assuming that meant, you know, that it manufacturer was XP, but it also covered Simple Soft. So I set the head unit to be the Simple Soft manufacturer. It had RAM in the list, and then RAM 1500, and I selected the low protocol because we had manual air conditioning. We don't have automatic. And then lo and behold, I started to see car settings where you could go in there and set, you know, various things that you can also set through the cluster as well, such as, does the horn beep when you lock the doors and things of that nature, telling me that, you know, it sees something for the CAN software, but what it's still not doing is allowing us to make any changes through the head unit. And I don't know if it works the same way, but I know with the factory stereo, if you were listening to the radio, it would show up here in the cluster. It would give you at least the radio station at the very top. And it does the same thing even in our 2500, where if you're listening to media or the radio, it at least gives you the name of the media file that's playing or the radio that's playing. Because I don't have steering wheel controls, I'm trying to see if this radio can do the same thing that Linksys radio can do and display that information. So we got past one hurdle by doing the software update on the head unit. That gave us access to what looks to be an option for Simple Soft to tell it that that's what we're using for a CAN decoder. We then selected Dodge, and then RAM, and then 1500. And if you scan the QR code on this module, it will actually come up and tell you that this is for Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, from the 2009 or 2008 variety or 9 variety, one of the two on up. So it should cover our application here. Now, while I was poking through all this and trying to investigate, and I have sent off some tech support emails to the manufacturer to kind of get some guidance from them, and this is what I'm telling you so far is kind of what I've just found out on my own. I'm coming back to this little 2-wire connection that's coming off this CanBus adapter, or CAN decoder, however you want to call it. And I found, by searching for basically Simple Soft CAN decoder, a video that came up on another type of Android head unit, in which they took this little, what is a 8-pin connector, and plugged it into the 8-pin socket on the back of the radio. Now, initially, I thought that maybe since this was kind of a universal kit, then this wiring harness is kind of universal, I guess. I thought maybe this didn't have anything to do with our application. So I went back and looked at the plugs available, and if you remember when we did the install, we kind of I tossed this one off to the side because it said that it dealt with 8-pin in rear audio output cable, and it's a right rear out and a left rear out. Well, I didn't need this because I'm not doing anything with an external amp, so I just kind of tossed it to the side, not thinking about it. But if you look at this connection here, you see an 8-pin connector here and an 8-pin connector here, and then it looks like you can take this 8-pin connector and then plug it in the back of the radio. So I'm thinking this 8-pin connector is going to go right here, and then it serves a dual purpose of being maybe right and left audio out, as well as it looks like that connector here would allow us to plug in this 2-wire 8-pin connector that comes off our CanBus adapter. And that may be what this radio is missing. Now, depending on the pinout, and I haven't traced it, I'd have to cut this fabric tape off to look at it. But it may mean that you could just potentially plug this connector straight in the back of the radio and just skip this little intermediate harness. That is, if it's pinned out correctly. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and plug in the harness as they gave it to us. And then I'm going to plug in this little, again, 8-pin connector, but 2-wire into this adapter here. And then I'm going to power up the radio and see if that makes any difference in our CanBus communication. And I'll bring you back and show you all that in a minute. So one moment. And welcome back. And I believe the last bit of video that we left off on, we were figuring out where this 2-wire 8-pin connector needed to go, and it was coming off of the connector for our CanBus. Now, remember earlier when we looked at this in the previous clip, it actually had a little bit of a dongle that also had some rear left and rear right RCA outputs on it. Now, since we weren't going to use those RCA outputs, all I did was just plug this 8-pin 2-conductor cable in directly, so you can see that we've got our main 19-pin, and then we're not got a spot we're not using, and then we've got that 8-pin connector on there, and I just plugged it in directly. Now we are seeing a little bit of new activity on here, so that's definitely where that needs to go, at least for our operation. And we did actually finally figure out at least CanBus settings within the car setup of the radio. And I'm trying to keep you out of the sun, I apologize. What we ended up doing was watching some install videos for this IQ radio for the Jeeps, and figured out our CanBus settings for there, because Jeep is also a Chrysler product, also so is Dodge, so I figured it probably wasn't too far off of the manufacturer on here. Now I'll also show you what it looks like after we did a CanBus update on this radio as well, as far as what it looks like inside the settings. But once again, just to show that to you, that extra 2-wire connection coming off this 8-pin connector, I just have it plugged directly into this 8-pin socket. But remember, there is that little kind of pigtail that looks like it kind of comes with it as well. But either way, we just got it plugged into there. Let me get the radio flipped back around here so you can kind of see the front of this. And hopefully I've got the radio turned off so it doesn't turn itself back on. Now you're going to also see the tablet do a full boot here. And the reason why that is, I did go into the factory settings on here and turn sleep mode off. That way, as soon as you cut that key and the unit powers off, it'll just completely power off rather than set at standby. And the reason why we did that was that, remember, this vehicle isn't a daily driver, so therefore it'll just help lessen our battery draw. Yeah, I'm trying to keep you out. It's whoa, blah, 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 go away. There we go. Okay, sorry. Didn't want a copyright strike on that. see if I can get you in here and get the glare of the sun. Just not much I can do about it. That might get us where we need to go here. Okay, and I did update the launcher, as you can see. Let me do this. Let me get the radio reinstalled here into the dash. That way it'll be a little bit lower and you won't see this glare right here on the side of the camera that you're seeing now. Let me get this reinstalled and I'll bring you right back. One moment. And welcome back. So hopefully that'll help a little bit. We got the radio reinstalled, and we also went ahead and put just a little bit of a sun visor on the outside of the windshield for now. Hopefully that'll cut down on the glare. So one thing you're going to notice again, that when we power this up, it will do a full boot, just because that's the way we have it set in the factory. Again, just to reiterate, just to help with long standby battery draw. And then once this gets done, booted up, I'll get back in the settings and show you how we set the CanBus. Yes, and we did change out the launcher, you'll notice probably from the previous clip and the previous videos. Go away, stop starting my radio. Okay, so again, you probably noticed the launcher has been changed out. It's the same launcher that we're using in our 2500 on our T-style Linkswell. But if we come into settings for the app, come in the factory, and in this case, this radio is 3368. And then we get into car model. You can see XP. Now this is after doing a CAN update, and I'll show you where that was at, but it's now called XP with simple and the brackets next to it. And the manufacturer of the CAN box itself is Simple Software. So we want XP, Dodge, 1500, and then low hand, because again, we have all manual controls here. Nothing is automatic controlled for the AC. Now upon doing that, so making that change plus that change, and to also show you where the updates for this particular radio we're hiding at, is that once again, if we come into apps and we come into App Store, now this is not the Google Play Store, this is an app store for the head unit itself. This, I may have to get it on. Oh, we're on 4G. It should load up. Maybe happy with me or maybe not, because we've got the windshield blocked out with a piece of foil here. So if we then go in the system, you'll see a service update, a protocol update, and a CanBus update. So we ran this, all three, or I should say all four of these updates off this system page. And then once we did that, and then came back into, again, 3368, came back into the, once we then came back into the settings and back up car model, and that's when we saw that this was XP simple. And then if we scroll down, you'll see a bunch of Chrysler options in here and other options. So Ram 1500 low. Once again, let's go back to our home page. So once we had that connector plugged in, did the CanBus update, and then come in and set that setting up to again be that XP option that you saw. And I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but just to confirm with you, so the type XP, brand obviously Dodge, Ram 1500, and then low. And then now if we come in here and do this, you'll notice it sees the front driver's door open. We can close it, that goes away. And now we can open up the rear door, and it sees we've got a rear door, even though the icon's not technically correct, but that's very, very minor thing. So the good news is it is talking to the bus, at this point, because obviously it can now see us open and close certain doors. You won't see it necessarily bring any of this up because this is manual, and I don't think it really communicates any of this across the LIN bus other than potentially just turning the AC and the rear defrost on and off. But you can see it doesn't get it to show in that little, you probably saw that little momentary like climate screen kind of pop up, which unfortunately doesn't kind of see any of this. But then again, that's no harm, no foul. We were, again, just wanting to radio to make sure that it would talk to the CanBus, because one of the upgrades that we've got planned later is to add in the audio controls in the back of the steering wheel, because remember, this particular Ram, its trim level didn't have it. So I've actually gotten in the audio controls, the new wiring harness for the inside of the radio, as well as the new back piece, which I hope will fit, because getting a hold of this back piece was kind of the hard thing to find. So we've got the pieces in. Once it comes in, we're going to get we'll come back, we'll do another video, we'll get everything installed. We're going to have to use Alpha OBD to enable the steering wheel controls within the truck. And then once we're done with that, we should then be able to raise and lower our volumes. But again, we know we're talking to the bus now. That seems to kind of taken care of our final issue. The only thing that, just to give you for full disclosure here, if we come in the apps and then come in the vehicle settings, you can see that we see the vehicle settings, which we could do before. Now, we could do all this before we plugged in that 8-pin cable, but we never saw the status of it, knowing the doors were opening, closing, until we plugged that 8-pin cable in. But I can come in here and try to change these settings, and you can't. It may not support it. This head unit may not support this, but you can see where it says speed units, kilometers an hour. I can't change that. Even though this is toggled for US system, I can't come off of that. I can't come off of that. None of these settings here will actually let me update, anything. I can't change delays, none of this. Now, interesting enough, if I come in here and set this to be a Jeep using the XP CanBus and just tell it other, you don't get near amount the settings, but the settings you do get, you actually can change. Let's see, factory settings, I think this 3368 is the same one on this one. And you can see you just have type 1, type 2, type 3. I'm not sure what that stands for, so I'm not going to change it. And you can see you've got amplifier settings here, but once again, now these you can change. You can see I can change those. So we can change car volume, surround sound. It looks like our treble will let us update. See, engine off options. Can I update the headlight delay? No, see, I can't. See, a lot of these I can't. It may just be that the head unit doesn't support you changing the factory options within here. But like I said, some of it works, some of it doesn't work. But more importantly, just to show that to you again, you can see front driver's door, it now knows it's open and closed. And we're going to go ahead and just start the truck here real quick just to show you. So we're back up and running. And I can come in here, as you can see, and I can turn these on, turn the AC on. It doesn't actually show any of that, but once again, these are all manual controls. It may not just support you seeing the status of this either. So let's go ahead and just take our key. See, and as soon as we turn our key off, boom, again, we're just set to do a complete shutdown. So hopefully that helps you a little bit further along, gives you that final piece of information now that we've kind of discovered what that last connector was for. And it is talking to the CanBus now, which is the good thing. And the next video that we come back with, we'll work on getting our audio and ability to change radio stations and track channels and such. Basically getting the radio, steering wheel controls installed. With that being said, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Again, we're trying to get to that 3,000 subscriber mark by the end of the year. And I thank everybody who has subscribed immensely. And with that being said, I'll let you go and bring you back for the next one. Thank you much. Bye. And sorry, and one final note, I will email them a status on this to let them know that we've seemed to have at least gotten part of it figured out. I will ask the question whether we should be able to change those other factory settings through the head unit or not. Like I said, it may or may not be supported, but when I get some answers to that, I'll bring it back and let you know. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.